Hey everybody, welcome back to the stream. So this is where we left off last time. I took the textures from Substance Painter, shoved them into Blender, and came out with a quick render. So this is what that looks like. I'm not perfectly, I'm pretty happy with it, but I'm not perfectly happy with it yet. So I'm taking it back into Blender and I'm gonna detail up the arms and stuff a little bit. Legs I'm not too worried about since those aren't going to be super visible, but right now the torso seems way more detailed than the arms, and I figure we can break off some of the panels, maybe add some cross-section, stuff like that, re-UV it, and take it back into Substance Painter, and hopefully it won't do too much damage. So let's hop into it. First things first, I'm going to save this and then save it as a new iteration. Just so we can always go back to what we had, just in case. And I'm thinking we can break up this panel, possibly. And let's pay attention to our UV sheet as well. And before we forget, let's turn off Live Unwrap so we don't accidentally fuck up our UVs. So we'll select this loop, and we'll just so we still have it, we will only separate it, we won't delete it. Oh, and okay, we're good. I was gonna say we needed to separate the arms, but we don't, they're already separated. For some reason I thought I had combined it into one solid mesh. Alright, so we'll go ahead and delete those faces. And we'll merge those. And that's going to expose a decent amount. And what we're going to do is we're just going to put a cross section in there so it looks a little bit more detailed, like he's breaking apart, kind of. We can even take this panel, take these edges, and rotate them out a bit. So now let's add a cross section in there. And I'm going to do that with the cylinder. And we'll make this only 16 vertices because who cares? And we'll just make this like a metal cross section that the panels can potentially be attached to. So we'll inset this, we'll delete those faces, and we'll bridge those edge loops. And then just for a little bit more detail, we'll add some loops here and extrude this in, which could be done with the texture, but that's really personal preference. The amount of faces we're adding is going to be not enough to really matter. And then we'll bevel it. And then we can even take these vertices, this ring right here, turn on our soft select, and scale it down so it tapers in and doesn't collide. And we can do the same thing here, but scale it out. Like so. Then we can take these little cylinders right here and we can connect them. And that one's going too far, so we'll just bring it out a little bit. I'm hitting G twice specifically so it'll slide the loop instead of move it. And then we can add a few more edges here to round it out. And hopefully we'll be able to just find places on the UV sheet for these things that we're adding rather than re-UVing, because we don't want to redo all the texture work we did. And we'll clear the sharpness on these so the normals don't look weird. And I think this one should come down some. And this one should come up some. We can probably even move this over some. And keep these connected. So now it looks like this arm is actually being built somehow, which is a nice change. So let's see if we can take this and we'll cut a seam. The tag seam is still on, just the live unwrap isn't. And we'll select just these two objects and we'll re-unwrap them. And we'll turn on our stretching so we can see how well they match up to the size of the other islands. Somewhere around there is pretty good. And we can just fit these in this space right here. Because again, we don't want to have to redo the whole UVs because then we have to redo all of our textures. We can select this. And we can cut an edge here. And also here. And we can unwrap it. Scale it down until it matches. Somewhere around there. And we can fit this one right in here. And this one is the back face, so it doesn't really matter, so we can just put that right there. Like I said, the legs we don't really care too much about. Oh, we have to also fit in our cross section. And let's go ahead and we won't have to modify the UV sheet for this, but let's move this down some. And this up some so it goes into the cylinder. Of course, the top one, I don't think that matters so much because this panel is sort of obstructing it. But let's go ahead and apply our bevel here and cut these faces. And we'll cut these faces. And we'll go ahead and we'll cut around too. Then, that's done. We can drag these off so they're not going to be overlapping anything when we join it. We'll join it, and then we'll take these and just scale them down until they match the size properly. Somewhere around there. And let's see if we can fit this anywhere. If not, we can scale it down a little bit more. It's interior detail. So that circle will fit nicely right there. This circle is gonna be a little bit harder. we'll just scale it down a little bit more. And again, I'm not too worried about having a loss of detail on something that's going to be mostly hidden in shadow. And these two are going to be hard to fit unless we straighten them out, so let's go ahead and do that. Things like this are just going to make him a little bit more believable. All I'm doing here is alt-clicking to select an edge loop and then hitting W and align X or Y to straighten it out on the Y or X axis. These aren't going to be perfectly matching up in width, and that's totally fine. Again, just as long as we get a little bit of texture detail on there, nobody's going to know the difference. Because he's going to be in motion, he's going to be far away, he is going to be huge. Okay, so let's see where we can fit these in. I'm thinking we can fit this one right in here. This one's going to be a little bit trickier. The fewer things we have to move around, the better. So this guy will fit right in here. Okay, so that's a little bit of detail added to the arm. That's nice. This side is pretty bland too. And honestly, I don't know how I feel about the shape of these arms either. We can stretch these out without worrying about the UVs too much. So let's go ahead and select all these panels. And the bits that are sticking out. And we'll hide everything except these. And again, we're not going to have to modify. I'm going to go ahead and hide the ground plane because it's just getting obnoxious. And I think if we look at this from the camera view, this is getting some foreshortening for the perspective. And I think what we want to do is scale up the back and scale down the front a little bit. Just a bit. To give it a better silhouette. I have to be really careful about this one. And we'll select these edges as well. And scale those down. I think that is a better profile for... Yeah, I think that's going to make for a better silhouette than it had before. Maybe even take some of these edges. Since I'm using soft select, I don't have to be too careful about which ones I'm specifically selecting. Maybe something like that. And then we can do the same thing to the other side. But it doesn't have to match. I mean, if it's not perfectly symmetrical, that's great. I think that's pretty good. Cool. Another thing I didn't know how I felt about was these right here. Oh, and just to make sure our UVs are still totally fine. I think just having that little extra bit of detail is going to be very helpful though. And then maybe we'll add something in the center there. Oh, and we're going to need to elongate this. We'll turn off soft select for that by hitting O. Because right now, you're going to be able to see right in there and see what's happening with it. So we'll just connect it there. And that looks fine. It's good enough. And we'll do the same thing on this side. And we're not going to worry about modifying the UVs because it's interior detail. Call me a blasphemer, I don't care. We can scale it down a little bit just so it fits. And we could probably fill this area with a few wires too. Yeah, let's get some wire detail in there. So add like a power core of some sort. And some of this is going to be difficult to hide on the UV sheet, and I realize that. So I'm going to take this, just add some random detail to it. I'm thinking we can do something like this sort of shape. Maybe even give it a light when we take it into Substance. And we can center this as well, if we decide to. And we'll just extrude that to where nobody will be able to see it. And just for the sake of having the detail, we'll scale that out here at the end so it looks like it's connecting somewhere. And yeah, I'm feeling this is definitely some sort of light. So we'll scale it down just a tiny bit, and then we can have a few wires in there. So we'll hide everything except this. We'll add some curves. Connect this like it's a power core of some sort, and then we'll add some subdivisions so we can make it like a twisty, twirly wire. I don't know that we need to up the resolution, we will to 1 just in case, and then we'll definitely down the resolution here. And we'll duplicate this, and we'll rotate it and put another one right here. And then we can rotate these random directions, scale them. Just give it some variety. And let's do one more. And wires aren't going to occupy too much UV space just because they're wires. They're more or less going to be a solid color. And let's add a channel for these wires. Because we don't, like, yeah, it's hidden for the most part, but just in case. We don't want people to see things they're not supposed to. Much better. And we'll do the same thing over here as well. Except we'll extrude this one out. Again, this is just random sci-fi looking interior detail. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. But maybe we can even add one more level of detail here. Yeah, so now we've got this magical mess. And we'll take this, we'll convert it to mesh. Take this and we'll apply our bevel. Then we'll unwrap it all. And we'll figure out where the hell we're gonna fit this on our UV sheet. Remember, we turned off live unwrap. This guy we can probably keep all as one main thing unless we want to make this like a glowing power core of some sort. Let's do that though, because that sounds cool. And then we'll cut here, cut here, cut there, cut that loop, cut here, cut that edge, cut here, cut that edge, and cut here. And that should be everything. Except the wires. The wires are going to be easy. Like I said, they're pretty much a solid color, so we don't have to worry too much about them taking up UV space. But we'll just go to the top here and cut the backs of them, since that's probably going to be the least visible area. Okay, so then we'll join these, unwrap, take this all outside, and then we'll join this with the arms. Then we'll take these and scale them down until they're an appropriate size. It looks like we're going to have a pretty easy time fitting this stuff because it's tiny. Although I may have spoken too soon. The bigger circles might be problematic. Might have to fit those in some pretty weird spots. And that might be an issue once we get our resolution in place. So we're going to take this down just a little bit further just so we can fit things. Because this stuff on the interior is mostly just going to need to be the right color. Nobody cares if it's super high quality detail. Nobody's really going to see it. Oh shit, I'm not actually sure what this is. Uh-oh. We missed a spot. So we'll take this, move it all over here now that we fixed it. You can actually take these edges. We don't need that bevel. That is completely unnecessary. Make sure we don't have any overlapping edges still. Then unwrap it again. Take all this, scale it down until it matches. And let's just try to fit stuff. We're running out of space on the arms UV sheet, so we might have to not add much more detail to these arms. This is just fitting shit where it fits for now. And we do want to add a little bit of space between these because we scaled them down so they lost the space between them. Oh, where can we fit more of this stuff? I think we're gonna have to scale it down some. And again, don't panic, it's totally alright. We can scale it up and fit some of these inside of circles. And it looks like these circles might fit around here. Again, I don't want to move the other UV islands. That's going to be our biggest problem. Since these are probably going to be similar colors, I'm not too worried about them being close on the UV sheet. We'll rotate this and try to fit it in here. Looks like it works. And put this circle in here. And then we can scale these down so they fit. Which is a little bit unfortunate. Not perfect by any means at all, but close enough. And we still gotta fit the wires, which they don't seem like they're gonna be too much of a challenge. We can just rotate them 90 degrees and shove them down here. At least 2 of them. That way we can get them a little bit bigger. Or all 3, why not? Works for me. So that just adds some extra detail on the arms, makes it look like something going on inside the robot. I'm tempted to do something similar for the legs. Doesn't look like we have a ton of space here to work with. For the legs, I'll probably just paint in some extra detail. But maybe we can get rid of some of the symmetry here, because these are pretty much perfectly symmetrical. So we'll take this panel, turn on soft select, and we'll move it down some, and we'll rotate it the other way. And we'll take this panel and rotate it out as well. And then we'll do the same thing with the shins. Just differentiate it. This one will twist. And I think we can move this one in some, and this one out some. And rotate the whole thing, maybe. Maybe do the same thing with this. Just twist it up a little bit. So it's not matching perfectly. And I don't like how this silhouette is the same either. And we don't have a lot of space on that UV sheet, and they're going to be below the player, so the player's not going to be paying too much attention to it, so we're not going to worry about it too much. I would like to add functionality to where the shoulders can rotate up, but I'm not 100% sure how to do that. And this arm will already be able to rotate up. It would just be nice if the shoulders could some too. But that would be some major changes, and we don't have time for that. Also, this really needs to be a 3-axis gimbal, but it's only a 2-axis. So we might just cheat this when we're rigging it and have the arm be able to rotate this way too. So that we would be able to... Okay. Let's just do a test here. So the problem with this is he can't really move his arm back this way right now. I'm thinking the easiest way to do that is going to be to delete this middle separator part and allow these to rotate this way and this way. And split the back. This floor panel is getting really fucking annoying. So let's go ahead and split the... And we can just... That's not going to be too visible in the rig, so we can just allow that to fly. But this... If we get rid of this intersection here, this can rotate up, down, that way, and that way. I'll have to figure out a joint that'll be able to do that, though. So let's save where we are, save a new increment, and try to figure this out. So move this to a new layer. We'll merge these to center. We'll make sure the UVs aren't too affected. Oh, that's a bummer. Fortunately, by deleting that other stuff, we made a little bit of space here. Yeah, the reason it's a bummer is because the auto packer puts stuff inside of these circles. We'll just take that stuff and move it elsewhere since it's small. And hopefully this won't fuck things up too much. Most of the work we really did was on the paneling anyway. Reassigning faces isn't too difficult. Okay, so that connection no longer makes sense. That's going to be a torso change. Unless we just do a fake-ass ball joint in here. Yeah, we can do 2 ball joints. So we can add a cylinder. Or we can just take the one we already had. Separate these faces. Move those to our garbage layer. So now that still connects properly. And then we can add some spheres here. And then we can join that again. Take this, make sure it's not overlapping anything. It is. So we'll take you and move you elsewhere. I think we'll put him where he originally was, and then take these 2 tiny faces and move them elsewhere. This is going to start to affect our textures, and that's unfortunate, but it has to be done if we want this guy to be able to move properly. So we'll add spheres, and we'll make them 16 by 8 because they don't have to be anything fancy. Smooth it out. And which way it's rotated doesn't matter a whole lot, just because it's a sphere. Oh well. We do want to match this up. I could use vertex snapping or something fancy like that, but this is just as easy for me. We'll scale you down, move you here, put the center somewhere around here. Try to match you up. We'll take this face, we'll inset it. And we'll add a little bit of like an extrusion here, so it looks like the ball socket's actually seated somewhere. And then we'll bevel this out. It should keep the edge sharpness. And then on this guy, we'll merge these at center, which is gonna fuck up our UV sheet again. So we'll unwrap these, scale them down to make sure they match. We're gonna have to find somewhere for them. They're gonna be very invisible, so I'm alright with them being smaller in terms of texture detail. You honestly look alright, probably. I'll re-unwrap you. And scale you down, but I don't think the stretching there is going to be too big of an issue. And we're going to take the ball. Yeah, so now this will be able to rotate back, up, whatever. Yeah, so let's rotate around active and just see how much. Okay, yeah, so that's gonna allow the actual shoulders to move up some when we rig it, and forward and back. So that's much better. It's a hidden joint, so it doesn't have to actually make mechanical sense. It's a little bit of a cop-out, I'm not gonna lie, but oh well. I think we can move it this way some, and then we can scale this guy out some. We'll do the same thing on this. Where we inset it and extrude it some. Yeah. And take these edges and bevel them. And take this whole selection, re-unwrap it, and scale it down to fit. And same with the other side. Then we can take the sphere and unwrap it. You can what's that called? I'm not happy with where we put that seam, so we're gonna clear it. We're gonna put it on the back. And you can relax the UVs by hitting Control V. That looks pretty good. Then we will Shift D to duplicate, minus on the X location, join these, unwrap both, relax the UVs, and then join it up. And then scale these right down. These are really, really hidden, so super not worried about these. Maybe get them to where they're like yellow, orange, red. It's not going to be a huge deal. And now our rig should be more versatile. Because now it'll be able to rotate in more directions. It'll be able to get some shoulder movement as opposed to just arm movement. Okay, wrist is fine. Maybe add some twist to the wrist, which honestly we could use this guy for. Go back to median point. We can just really fake this. We'll just add a joint in here and allow the wrist to rotate around there. Okay, so now the arms will be able to rotate down like that. And really, they'll only ever be able, your real arm can't rotate more than 90 degrees back to wind up for a punch. So a lot of that's going to be waist movement, which we've got. So I'm not too worried about this now that we have some shoulder movement in there. And then based on our image, I'm not sure how I feel about these. I think we're definitely going to make these white to match the rest of the material so it looks like it's painted over. But, yeah. Because it's just extraneous detail. It's completely unnecessary. Maybe if rather than making them like buttons like that, we made them smaller and duplicated them into each corner. At which point we could really just do these with texturing. I don't know how I feel about these. For now, let's just separate them and handle them in the texture. Make sure we only selected those. Split it out. And move those to this layer. I'm alright with them on this thing just because that's like a connection for the pneumatics. Leg detail, we'll just paint some stuff in, like some bump map stuff. Not horribly worried about that. Alright, now that we've added some stuff, let's hop into Substance and add our updated model. We'll do Boss Robot Substance 2, just to be safe. And then I'm gonna open Substance Painter, so give it a second. And while that's opening, close. We'll skip the update, which you can't see because it was technically in a separate window. It exploded, it's just recording this window. I'm gonna open recent Boss Robot. Give it a chance to load in. I'll load it up, and then we'll replace. So edit, project configuration, we'll select a new mesh, we'll do Substance Robot 2, and we'll hit OK. And it should keep mostly everything in place. Looks like it did a pretty good job. And then we're gonna have to rebake stuff. So we'll hit Bake Textures, and you can't see this, but make sure ambient occlusion is set to ignore backface, and we'll bake all textures. And it's gonna take a second here and bake. You can't see the dialog window, but that's totally fine. Just because we want to get rid of these weird occlusion overlaps and stuff. It's almost done, it's at about 73%. Give it a second to catch up, the red progress bar. Has to refigure out where things are going. I don't know why it set this to steel now. But we can fix that pretty easily. That's fine. I think what that's coming from, yeah, that's gonna be that layer. It's like our random height line layer. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna come in here and turn it off for these objects. Then, oh, and we missed the wires. And we'll add a wire material, or a folder. Call this wires, and let's get to work on it. We'll come into our materials, and we'll use a glossy plastic once this all loads up. We'll add a black mask to the folder, and then we'll just apply this to just the wires. Looks cool. We'll adjust the wire material here. Make them like a dark red, and then we'll make them a lot rougher. Can't even see them, doesn't really matter. Let's make this light. So add a new layer, we'll call this arm light. Underscore diffuse. And we'll add a channel for emissive to the arms. And then we'll make this like a dark red, and we'll make it fairly rough. We'll add a black mask. By UV Island, we'll just do this. And we'll Control-C, Control-V. We'll make it affect emissive as well. And then we'll add a black mask, and we'll paint it. Just so it has that nice fall off. Maybe even a little bit more. That's pretty good. I think we'll make the tubes emissive as well. So now we just have to find those. They're right here, and then we'll add some fall off to those as well. Like so. Looks fine for now, and then we also need to apply this to it. And then we can blur this. And then add a paint. Make it black on everything. Except for these. And for this. And then we'll multiply it. Cool. Now let's add some painted detail to our legs here. We're going to add a new fill layer. We're going to have it only affect the height. Just add some height detail here, I think. We'll boost it up, we'll add a black mask, and then we'll paint in some height. I have to figure out what shape we want to do though. Let's see what alphas we have. Maybe just like a rectangle or something. Yeah, like this would be nice. And we can rotate you 90 degrees. That's pretty cool. And then we can rotate it to match. I can dig that. But then we can take this with our standard alpha and paint in a little bit more just so it matches the general shape of the leg. We might want to do that with our Cintiq though, instead of trying to do it with the mouse. Looks good to me. Might want to take that and blur it out. And do the same thing over here. Make it just match the panel shape. Hitting X to change colors for painting. To swap between black and white. And then we'll call this folder leg detail. Then we'll add another fill layer that's gonna go down in height. We'll make it dark and we'll make it rough. And then we'll add a black mask. And we'll just trace around this. Smooth it out a little bit. Same here. Do the same thing on this side. Like so. Looks cool to me. Let's make it look like the panel is built around this little section. And these would probably be constructed the same way. No reason to vary that. So we can take this and blur it. But not quite so much, maybe like 0.1. Maybe something like that will look alright. And this would probably be screwed in place. Which there is actually a screw tool in Substance, which is pretty useful. So let's put the screws here instead, just like extra rivets. Looking pretty cool. Thinking we can detail up the power core a little bit. So let's head back to our torso. And let's add a new layer and a new folder called Power Core Detail. Move our new layer into there. And you will be pretty much black and pretty much all the way rough. I'll move the height down, doesn't need to affect normal or metallic or emissive. We'll add a black mask. And then I believe I have a circle alpha somewhere around here. If not, we can improvise. We'll go to orthographic view. Move our circle all the way up to here and make it 100% hard. Stamp it. Okay, that adjusts softness. I'm trying to find the hotkey for scale. And then paint it out on one side. Maybe paint in this little face area. Add another black mask. This one I'm trying to figure out how to change the size of the brush. Oh, there we go. Make this circle just a little bit offset and a little bit bigger. Paint it out. And then we'll smooth out this transition here a little bit. I don't like how that looks. So we'll delete you, add a black mask. And redo what we had, but go all the way around. I'm just experimenting with different brush sizes to try to get that good balance of a line. Yeah, there we go. We're going to try to make these rounded bits on the legs look less rounded. Just going to hop over to the legs. See what's adding that. It's this layer. So we'll add some levels and just clip the white to make the top seem more flat, like that. Oh, that's kind of neat. But not what we're going for. Yeah, let's just clip it just a bit, like that. That looks pretty good to me. Let's add some various details like that over here. So come up to our torso. Also under our viewer settings, we're going to turn off shadows for now. We'll add another layer. We'll call this chest detail underscore extrude. We'll up the height. Don't need to affect color, metal, roughness, normal, or emissive. Add a black mask. Rotate this till it matches. Turn it black, rotate it, and cut out areas to make it match. Something like that, and then do the same thing up here. And then we will do the same thing we did, where we'll add another one, turn the height down, base color down, roughness up, doesn't need to affect metallic, normal or emissive. Add a black mask, we'll grab our normal brush shape and we'll just paint some stuff in. Make sure it's nice and smooth. We don't want to look like it's a shoddy manufacturing job. Yeah, he's an old robot, but he was probably initially done pretty well. And then just take it and smooth it out a little bit like we did previously. Which this is getting down to pixel level detail, so it's not too bad. I think we can move this out a little bit, give it more of a corner. And then connect these lines. Thinking this one might be too wide. So we'll come in here with our rounded rectangle again. And we'll just chop a little bit off. And then here, paint that out. Come back here, chop it off a little bit more. And then we'll paint it back in. So I'm just hand painting this, so it's not going to be perfect. But nothing in real life is perfect, so get over it. We can slowly tweak the line until we get something we like. Yeah, I think that's more acceptable. These panels are no longer the correct material. I need to figure out why that is. No, it looks like they're the correct material. My color variation is just stronger than I thought. The steel material, I think we can up the roughness a bit. And overall, I think it can be a bit darker. Oh, it's not even affecting these pipes. I wonder why that is. Yeah, this is too rough. I thought it was on the pipes. I do think we can take this and turn it down in brightness some. Dark steel. But let's make that affect the pipes. Doesn't look like anything else is. Oh, we're on the arms. That's why. I need to up that stuff on the torso. Now I feel stupid. Yeah, okay. Now we're in the right place. Up the dirt. And then tone down the darkness. And then let's come into these panels. And we'll add a paint. And we're just gonna paint some of this off. And we'll warp it too, so. Yeah, let's see what panel this is. I don't see anything being added to. Oh, there it is. It'll be easier to do this on the UV sheet. Honestly, you probably want to paint on a steel stain instead. That way we can have a little bit of height effect. And that way our warping of the mask isn't going to affect anything negatively. Yeah, I'm just going to use my Cintiq again because it makes my life easier. So we'll draw relatively straight lines and then we'll add a warp filter to the mask. And then we'll also UV sheet the underside of this. Yes, and then we'll add a filter and we'll do a warp. We can up the intensity of that. Screw with the parameters some. It's auto-saving, which is the most obnoxious feature, but I know it's helpful. And honestly, I want this to have some height variation. So I'm gonna, under the panel layering, I'm gonna add one more folder, or one more layer, and we're going to adjust the height here. So it looks like the paint actually has some substance. And it's just sort of chipping away. And now when we paint stuff, it should automatically warp, which is nice. So let's see where this is on the layer sheet. Looks like it's over here. So I'll just take my Cintiq pen again and sort of paint in some lines here. It's lagging a little bit, which is totally fine. And then let's do the same thing here. Let's figure out where this one is. I think this one is right here. Yeah, that's correct. We'll come in and even manually paint this a little bit to try to get rid of that bump right there. Which I don't know if that's going to be happening. And we need to figure out where this one is. It's going to be another half circle shape like that. I think it's right here. Yeah, it's right here. So we'll paint off everything we did, come in, and just paint. Alright, looking cool. Just gives the panels a little bit of life. Let's add some rubber sections around these panels right here on the legs. So for that, we will add a fill layer, legs black rubber, make it darker, up the roughness a good amount. It's still pretty bright. I guess these have to be pretty rough to get dark. Then we'll up the height just a teensy bit. Doesn't need to affect normal or metallic or anything like that. So we'll add a black mask. We'll see what panel this is. It looks like this one. So we'll just come in here and paint it. We can up the hardness of this too. That looks pretty good. I don't know why I'm trying to manually paint this when we're going to have a face layout that's going to be much easier. Oh, we're not going to have a face layout. Never mind then. Manually paints it is. And we need to turn our spacing down. I think that overall looks fine. And then we just go ahead and do the bottom too. Smooth it out. Really get in there finally and just sort of try to smooth out this line so it doesn't look like a drunk artist painted it. We'll do the same on the other side. Let's find this panel. Let's see how well that matches up in terms of width. It's not bad. We can make it a little bit thicker. And I think our big problem here is the tangent wrap, so let's turn that to UV. And smooth that out some. Nobody's going to see the back, so I'm not worried about that. In terms of thickness, I think it matches pretty well. So let's do the top as well. Is this scattering some? No, it just feels like it's not drawing a straight line. And this actually looks a little bit thicker than the other side. Not enough to really notice though. Okay, so then we'll add a paint. And we will make everything black. Except for these, and then multiply it. That'll just get rid of any painting errors we had. Okay, so now we need to add a seam. This one's easy. Pretty much the same material, except the height's going to be lower and the roughness is going to be higher. And then we come in and we paint around it. And then we'll blur it out after we're done here. Yeah. That'll do, pig, that'll do. Man, I'm really fucking this one up. Let's blur that out and see what it looks like. This is pretty bad right here. Add a filter, make it a blur. And we can come in here and try to smooth it out as much as we can. While it's blurred. And we can also add a levels and crush the bright. It's by no means perfect, but I think it's going to be close enough. Try to trace the seam pretty closely. Like so. And like so. I have an easier time if it's going the other way. And we'll fix that tiny little flub right there. Cool. Hey, what's up, Corey? Thanks. We still got a ways to go in figuring how to detail this guy out more, but I think it's getting closer. Some shadows on that, looks pretty cool. I don't know if you saw the render from earlier, but he's turning out alright. I just made some tweaks in Blender. But it's looking like this, which is pretty cool. So I detailed up this arm a little bit more. I took off one of the panels to add some stuff inside of it, and I reworked the joints inside of his arm so he can have some shoulder movement. Other than that, not much has changed because I didn't want to affect the UV sheets too much. Yeah, this is what the new arm looks like. So we've got some light tubes in there, like it's an energy core or something. I don't know. Let's add some lines on this piece. Or on some of these pieces anyway. Lines are cool. These lines kind of suck right now. We'll add like a whole extruded piece right here. I think that layer is only affecting right there pretty much. And over here as well, but that looks bad too. So turn off shadows again. We'll come in here with a layer that will extrude it. We only want to affect the height. We'll use our nice rounded rectangle we were getting so much out of. And we will rotate this to match as much as we can. And do one of those. Move it down a little bit though. Nice straight line. We can blur it some to hide some of that detail. Blur it, and then we'll clip the top to give it a nice flat top. Like so. That just gives it a hard edge, but still with the blurred height effect. And then we'll add a seam. And we'll just try to match the edge there. And we'll go back to our regular circle shape. There we go. I had to adjust the light so I could actually see where I need to paint this. And notice we got a little bit on the joint there. That's totally fine. We can also clean up this line a little bit. And then blur it out some, I think. Maybe something like that, and then add a levels to get some of our color back in there. Looks cool to me. Let's add like a little door up here. So we'll come in here and just use this layer as well. And we'll just stamp something in. Try to get the rotation right, scale right. We'll stamp this just like right there. Come into our seams, grab a regular brush again. I dropped my pen. Oh, it's a simple arcade game. It's my first Punch Bomb is. It's my first experiment with designing a game from the ground up. I was originally wanting to make a multiplayer arena kind of game, but multiplayer proved really difficult for a first game project. So I simplified, made an arcade game where the original arcade game is where bombs appear around you and you have to punch them away before they blow up. But I'm adding this game mode to it. This will be the third game mode, where you have to go through 9 procedurally generated levels and then fight the boss. And this is the boss that I'm working on now. He's the first enemy in the game that punches back. This is why I gave him some massive fists. But it's a VR game, so actually physically punching stuff ends up being a pretty good cardio workout. Has decent review, they're pretty good reviews on Steam. Nobody's given it a negative review yet. It's just hasn't had a ton of reviews. I like that detail, so we'll add it over here as well. Doesn't matter if it matches perfectly. Most indie games will use like asset store stuff, but I went to school for visual effects, so it'd be kind of a cop-out if I did that. And not just school, like I do CG work for a living. I just tried VR when I was at SIGGRAPH one year, which SIGGRAPH is huge graphics convention, and I was sold on it, so I was like, I want to do that. Oh, there's actually a Fruit Ninja VR as well, which that one's pretty fun. It gets really repetitive really fast, which I guess Punchbomb does as well, but that's where the extra modes and stuff come in. And I added like a fitness mode and stuff so people can change the speed and customize it and get a good, decent workout. I don't know, I've just been trying to generally listen to the community, because that seems to be the best way to make people happy. Let's add some circle detail like right here on the neck. Oh man, that's a loaded question. What peripheral VR system do I like the best? I was honestly using my Oculus the most. If I had to buy one right now, I would probably buy the Vive purely for the tracking solution. Because what I hate about the Oculus is that it takes up like 4 USB ports if you want to do room scale. And they're both really solid though, like you can't go wrong with either. Okay, the neck is on the head. And also, when I'm working in Unreal Engine, if I go into a VR preview of the game, then hop out, the engine just starts lagging like crazy, which is really annoying. I found out last weekend, or the other weekend when I was working on the Unreal Engine Game Jam, that only happens with the Oculus. With the Vive, I didn't have any issue once I swapped over to make sure the controllers were oriented properly. So that's a little bit of a weird issue. I don't know if anybody else has had that. I just want to figure out where this is. Looks like it's right here. So we'll come in with our circle, we'll just make it really big, make it really hard. And we'll stamp in a nice circle once we get the size where we like it. Try to get the light in a direction that can actually tell us where we are. That'll get us a nice kind of circle. It's a little bit wonky. Yeah, I don't like how that came out at all. I think what we're gonna have to do here is just manually go from edge to edge. That's fine. And this will actually end up looking rounder because of the way the thing is laid out. And then we can tweak the line width after we're done stamping this. I've worked on TV shows. I haven't worked on any movies, but like I did some CG stuff for Man in the High Castle and Silicon Valley most recently. Those were really fun projects. Like for Man in the High Castle, I did some naked Nazi statues and helped with the main interior dome building thing. Blur this out and then add some levels to make it smaller, but then also crush this in to make it black, darker. That looks pretty good. Maybe even add just like a couple LEDs there. So we'll do color, roughness we'll turn down, normal, height, emissive we do want, we'll make these red. Color we'll do red, height we'll move up. And then I'll just brush in a couple LEDs here. And then maybe like a line. I don't know, I'm making it up as I go. Maybe make this one green though. Yeah, the boss has to be really detailed just because he's gonna be so big. And I'll show you the scale here in a second. We'll make these less saturated. I've been getting more detailed with the art in general just because it's kind of fun for me. But like I'm gonna toss an image up on this, some images up on the screen here, I guess. Which, this mode is procedurally generated, so I just have map segments that it generates out of. One more second. Grabbing the third image. Save. 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 I'm just grabbing them from my Instagram because that's the only place I know where they are. We'll add media. Add media. And add media. So these are sort of what the new game mode looks like. These are there are 3 different zones. It starts in this zone, then the plant one is zone 2, and then the destroyed one is zone 3. And then the boss fight. So that's what that is, and that's why I'm trying to reach a higher level of detail, because these start to get a little bit more detailed than the original game modes. Just because I wanted a challenge, I guess. But, oh yeah, VR definitely has to be really detailed, especially in the modeling. You can't rely as much on texture detail in VR, just because this looks like it has depth to it in the texture. But in VR, you don't get parallax data since you're seeing 3D with the two eyes, which I'm sure you're familiar with since you use the Vive. Normal maps just look flat in VR, so only for small detail. You have to model all the big detail rather than trying to get away with texture detail. You can use parallax occlusion, but it's cheaper on the CPU to just model it in. Oh right, I got rid of the screws here, so I'll paint those in now. So up the metallic, lower the base color, move the light around so we can see stuff. Height, we'll move up, I guess. Wait for it to autosave. This thing autosaves way too frequently. I'm sure I'll thank it one day, but... We'll add a black mask. Grab our regular shape. And we'll just stamp in some screws here. Yeah, the boss, oh yeah, he's gonna be pretty big. Relative to the player, he's gonna be about this big, so his fist is gonna be about as big as the platform, so when he punches at you, you have to punch his fists back. And then he's gonna shoot bombs at you and shoot lasers out of his eyes. And then, depending on playtesting, I'll tweak it. Duplicate this. This one will no longer affect color, it'll only affect height. We'll make it inverted. And then we'll blur it. Oh man, Uncharted games, those are so gorgeous. And then this height, we'll just make normal. And we can probably also separate the color into its own layer so it actually affects the whole height. This guy will only affect color, metal, and roughness. And then we'll add levels. I actually specifically bought a PS4 just to play the Uncharted games, because I hadn't played them before, and those games are awesome. And I also bought an Xbox One because I wanted to play the Master Chief Collection, because I never really played the Halo games before. I think we can darken these up a good bit too. Okay. Then these panels I wasn't happy with. Need to figure out what material they are. I think they're just under the machinery. Yeah. We'll just make them look like they're just a straight up painted area. Nah, I'm not happy with that at all. That'll work. Anyway, I'm starting to get happy with this. It is about my bedtime because I have work in the morning. So thanks for stopping by, Corey Lemon Enterprises. It's a long name. I enjoyed talking to you. That was fun. Have a great night.